All right, everybody. How are we doing on this Thursday? Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Laurel Blanchard kind of breaking down what we're expecting for the tropics as well as what we're seeing with storms out there right now. So really, most of the storms are actually setting up a lot closer to the I-75 corridor as opposed to south of the I-4 corridor than what we saw earlier on today, or the past couple of days. So Monday and Tuesday, all those storms were really over by Osceola County, southern Orange County, southern Brevard County. Today we're seeing everything really push over to the west just because of how the sea breeze caught together this morning. That eastern sea breeze was cooking basically right at 11:30 earlier today, and we're going to continue to see that collision of the sea breezes once again closer to the Orlando area tomorrow. So still seeing those storms out there right now, but we are out on live on Fox Local, on Facebook, on YouTube, so definitely write in where you're watching from to say hi and let us know if you're seeing any rain out there right now. But let's get to the forecast, taking a look at our radar. This is our current radar of what we're seeing right here. Let me just move over just a little bit. Things are pretty quiet out there right now, close to Orlando. So we are actually using our WOFL radar in Bithlo. And reason why is because actually the Melbourne radar had some technical difficulties today, and that's probably going to be out of commission for at least a couple of days. So we're using the combination of our WOFL radar in order to kind of see everything on the East Coast and closer to Central Florida. We're also going to be using our airport radar as well. And then, of course, we also have Tampa, Tallahassee, Jacksonville that we can always use as well. But really, just to kind of get a better picture of what's happening out there right now, some of those storms happening across the region, areas across the East Coast, Palm Coast, couple of showers may try to make their way onto Daytona Beach, but these should slowly start to fizzle out before they make their way on land. We have a little bit of work going on in our studio, so don't mind the noise in the back. We're getting ready for our 8 o'clock show very soon. But again, not really seeing too much, seeing just very, very scattered showers popping up across Volusia County, trying to make their way further into Brevard County. Also Claremont seeing just a very little thunderstorm making its way over into Sumter County soon enough. But backing out, we can see a lot of lightning just continuing to slowly make its way off the west coast, seeing a lot of lightning down by Tampa, Riverview area, down by Bradenton as well, and St. Pete also seeing some of that lightning. So that's what we're looking at on radar. Even backing out a little bit further, let's take a look at our national radar. Backing out, we have our storms setting up here, seeing that severe weather, especially across the Carolinas. But even backing up further, we have another powerful low pressure system making its way back across the northern plains. So this entire low pressure system going to continue to just kind of span across the northern part of the country as we head through the next couple days, which could spark up some severe weather, especially across the northern Midwest. But other than that, I do want to kind of do like a general setup, because the pattern that we've been stuck in quite literally for a week is still happening. So we have been keeping an eye on this frontal boundary. It's been kind of laced over Central Florida for the past week, and this is what's been keeping our rain chances high. So this is ultimately what's been amping up our rain chances for quite a bit, and it's going to continue to kind of amp up our rain chances as well. Right here, I'm going to take out one thing, but still all the same. There we go. So we've kind of had this low pressure system kind of just lingering off the coast, but we've had this frontal boundary that's kind of just been lacing across the southeast, and you can kind of see that boundary still very, very weak, but there. From Houston all the way over through southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, northern Florida and the Georgia line, and then kind of continuing to wrap around this low pressure system. This boundary has been sitting here for, I kid you not, a week. This is why our rain chances have been so high, and also a lot of moisture in the atmosphere has kind of just been trapped over Florida for the past couple of days. But this is also a lot of tropical moisture that's continuing to influence our rain chances through the day today, through the day tomorrow, and through the weekend. So unfortunately, any weekend morning plans actually look pretty good. It's once we head into the afternoon of the weekends, then things are going to start to get soggy. But overall, we're keeping an eye on this low pressure system right here, because this, as it makes its way northward, very, very low chance of seeing some tropical development, but it's still there nonetheless. And we'll talk about the tropics in just a few minutes. But again, as we head through the rest of the work week, I know a lot of folks already trying to look ahead to the weekend, so let's just get right into it. Over the day tomorrow, more of those rain chances to come. So we still have a lot of moisture within the atmosphere, and with that, that's going to really amp up our rain chances through the next couple of days. And we have another shot at 80% rain chance through the day tomorrow. So seeing those sea breeze storms starting to pop up across the early afternoon, really starting to make its presence known, and once we head into the evening hours, and you are really going to notice that, especially if you use the I-4 corridor, especially tomorrow evening. So heads up for that. Widespread rain on tap through the end of the work week and even into the start of the weekend. So that's something that we're really going to be focusing in on as well. And we'll take a look at our forecast models. I'm going to extend it ever so slightly to take a look at Saturday as well. But through the rest of the evening, storms going to continue to slowly start to fizzle out as we head through the rest of the overnight, just continue to push off the west coast. Things are quiet through the overnight, keeping a couple of clouds out there. But then as we take a look at your Friday morning, looking at a partly to mostly cloudy morning commute. So with that moisture in the atmosphere, that's what's going to create more of that cloud cover. So in turn, our temperatures not going to be as warm as we take a look through the end of the work week and the start of the weekend. So timing on showers tomorrow, this eastern sea breeze kicking in early. So at about 12:30, especially if you're Palm Coast all the way down to Melbourne, you're going to be seeing those storms right there. And then as we take a look towards the afternoon, we can see 2:30, 3 o'clock, that's when we start to see those sea breezes collide. So over Gainesville down to Lakeland, kind of seeing the dead center of the peninsula, continuing to see quite a bit of storms really pop up, and then slowly starting to shift west. So really probably at about 5, 6 o'clock, if you use areas across the Florida Turnpike, any part of I-4, it's going to be a soggy evening commute out there for sure. So just make sure you're taking it easy and low and slow for sure. Storms still lingering probably by Friday evening, things slowly starting to taper off after that. And then even taking a look at Saturday, much more of the same. Seeing that eastern sea breeze really start to kick in early. Things pretty much widespread by 2 p.m. And then we see that sea breeze collision further down by Tampa as we take a look at your Saturday afternoon and evening. But as those sea breezes really start to get cooking, because there's just so much moisture in the atmosphere, that's what's really creating those widespread rain chances, even as those sea breezes are just starting to pick up that strength as they make their way onshore. So that's what we're going to be seeing through the weekend. But overall, it is going to be a little bit busy in the tropics, and there is a reason why for that. So we talked about that boundary that has been kind of just trapping all of this moisture, but we have been very much keeping an eye on the tropics, and here's the latest. This is the 8 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. A 60% chance of development over the next 7 days for the central part of the Atlantic. And then we're still keeping an eye on this 20% zone with that cluster of thunderstorms right there. So let's start off with that 20% zone, and then we'll really get into detail about what we can expect with this 60% zone, because it shifts ever so slightly. Things are going to become a little bit more precise every single day as these models start to hone in on everything a little bit more. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But I do want to talk about this 20% chance, because especially if you have any beach plans, this is the last weekend before a lot of kids go back to school for us here in Central Florida. So if a lot of folks are really just starting to wrap up their summer plans, head to the beach that one last time before the kids really start to head back to school. So overall, we're keeping an eye on this 20% zone here. And with that 20% zone kind of sitting just off the East Coast, this is what's really going to roughen up the beaches over the next couple of days. There's a lot of swells that happen in the ocean when tropical systems try to gain a little bit of strength. So through the weekend, this is just your Friday forecast, but it's pretty much copy and paste with those wave heights, the wave periods, the water temperatures. We are going to be seeing much more of that kick in as we head through the next couple of days. So those wave heights going to become a little bit bigger. They were kind of just sitting right at about a foot for the past couple of days, and then they're going to be rising to about 2 feet as we take a look, especially at Daytona Beach, as we take a look through the weekend. Wave periods between 7 and 10 seconds. The water temperature, it is warm out there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But the rip current risk, that is going to be at a high all weekend long. And I just can't stress enough about water safety. I was a lifeguard when I was in high school, and water safety is just something that's so important. And even with the strongest swimmers, we were talking earlier today of what sports we did in high school and what sports we did in college. And I was a swimmer, and I like to think of myself as a very strong swimmer, and TJ as well. He was also a very strong swimmer, and he was doing a package earlier on this summer about summer safety and how rip currents can be so dangerous, and he was swept out in about 20 seconds. So it just goes to show, no matter how strong of a swimmer you are, rip current risk is extremely dangerous to everyone. So if you are planning on going to the beaches, be careful in the water, make sure you're swimming near a lifeguard, or just know your limits. Just go in ankle deep, knee deep. Don't go pushing it out there, because again, those rip currents are going to be strong as we take a look at the next couple of days. So back to the tropics. We were keeping an eye on that 20% zone just off the East Coast, so let's actually start there. So this little cluster of thunderstorms, it's this X right here. You can kind of see a little bit behind that X and one just out ahead of that X. This is about 400 miles off the Florida coastline, so Daytona Beach area, about 400 miles off the coast there. This is going to continue to drift northward, and it's set to move into some cooler water. So when we talk tropics really like warm ocean water and air with a lot of moisture in it. Those are the two main factors that tropical systems really feed off of. And this is having the more of the moisture in the air, because you can see all of this cloud cover just continuing to kind of linger over that 20%. But overall, it's not going to be moving into water that's very warm. And you can see that right here. Here's that 20% zone, and it's in that 80-degree area for a while, and then it quickly goes down into the 70s and also into the 60s. So areas especially across the Cape, that's water that is way too cold for me. And I just saw Elaine Tovet write in, who is from Holbrook. And yeah, that water is still too cold for me. Even down towards the Jersey Shore, Chesapeake Bay area, it's a little bit too chilly. So again, as we're talking tropics really they're very picky. I know I'm picky when it comes to ocean water, but tropics are very picky. 81 to about 85 degree water, that's really what we see, that sweet spot for temperatures. If it's too warm, it kind of almost has the opposite effect. And if it's too cold, yeah, the tropics aren't going to fend off of that. But overall, it is really just going to move into that much cooler water very quickly, which is why those percentages for the probability just keep going down. It was at about a 40 earlier on this week, and it's just slowly started to go down over the past couple days. So something that we're going to be watching, but luckily that's not going to be a threat, because even if it was, this is just going to slowly start to move off the East Coast. So luckily this thing isn't even going to make landfall. But again, however, we're seeing those thunderstorms across the Carolinas, as well as very, very rough beach conditions for us here at home. All right, so that's what we're talking about when it comes to this 20% zone, but I really want to focus on this orange blob right here. So, and we'll do a little bit of a reset, because we got an email the other day asking when products actually get issued at the different phases, when we can expect different products to be released, which is great. And we have a comment right here on Facebook saying that we're an amazing news team. Thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate that. All right. So I want to focus in on this 60% zone right here. So again, we're watching this 20% zone, not really too much of a threat. Let's focus on this 60% zone right here. So this is what we've been watching for a while. I think last week, I believe, I made a graphic that had a circle on this wave that was making its way off the coast of Africa. And I said, this is something that we're going to want to watch, and this is something that we are watching now. So it's this cluster of thunderstorms right here. You can kind of see that wave of moisture where that X is. And this is what's going to continue to kind of follow along a high pressure system. Fingers crossed, staying out to shore. However, we have a couple different scenarios, and you'll see it in the models in a second. But right now, this is an organized enough cluster of thunderstorms that it gets called an invest. So right now, this is being labeled as Invest 96L. This is in the central Atlantic and going to continue to possibly feed off of that very warm ocean water and possibly strengthen to a tropical depression by this weekend. So this is a zone that we're really going to watch. However, before I even move off of that, let's back up a little bit over here. We're going to be watching another zone slowly making its way off the African coastline as we take a look, probably within the next day or two. And this is going to be another area that we're going to watch. So even just looking a little bit further into Africa, it looks like we have 1, 2, maybe 3 waves that we might need to keep an eye on. So tropics definitely waking up, but focusing in on the here and now. Let me just play this so it's back to its meant to be graphic. This cluster of thunderstorms slowly going to be making its way across the Atlantic, and you can see most models pretty well together by day 3 to day 5. Then once we get to day 5 to day 7, it gets lost. Like, there's so many scenarios that can happen 2 weeks out that it definitely can lead to a lot of different scenarios. But most of the models right now keeping pretty well together for about 3 to 5 days, and then things start to get a little bit wonky 5 to 7 days out. So once things slowly start to get a little bit closer and this system kind of figures out what it needs to do, that's when a lot of these questions will be answered. But something that we are watching, and something that we kind of look at, especially when we're tracking these tropic systems of where they could go, this can definitely even be brought in a little bit more, is that we're seeing this high pressure system right here across the central part of the Atlantic. Most likely what's going to happen is we have this low pressure system is going to follow along this high pressure system, but it ultimately feeds into the fact of where this high pressure system is going to set up. Right now, it's kind of condensed right now, and that's kind of like what Dexter is following around, and that's what's going to be pushing it up towards Europe. But overall, this high pressure system, even if it shifts ever so slightly to the west, ever so slightly to the east, that's what's going to change the activity of this low pressure system significantly. If it condenses a little bit more, it's going to have a more shallow track. If it expands a little bit more, it could possibly run the risk of running into the coast. There's just so many questions out there that it's way too early in order to really define what is going to happen with this system. However, with already just the structure of it, it does have a shot of at least being a possible hurricane. So that's something that we're going to be very much watching over the next couple of days. So here's our low pressure system again. Could follow along this high pressure system depending on where this high pressure system sets up. Most models are kind of bringing it northward, but it also has the possibility of kind of making more of a westerly track. So something that we're really going to need to key in on, and I think that's going to be the pattern as we take a look again off the coast of Africa, is something that could be making its way off the coast. This is also going to be something that we're going to watch that could follow this same exact pattern. So things to keep in mind for sure. Way too early, and Jay, I hope it does not impact your trip to Annapolis, and I love it up there, so I hope you have a great trip. So there is one thing that has slowly been making its way out of the headlines, and that is Dexter. So Dexter not completely over yet. However, Dexter is now post-tropical. So what does that actually mean? Dexter still is a pretty strong storm. 60-mile-per-hour winds from the 11 a.m. update. This will also update at, I thought it was supposed to update at 5 p.m., but I guess not. It's post-tropical now, so the Hurricane Center is not going to be posting any more updates. However, this system is still very strong. It did lose all of its tropical characteristics. It doesn't have a circulation anymore, but it is also just a very strong cluster of thunderstorms. Right now holding winds at 60 miles per hour. And this is just going to continue to follow along the high that's in the central part of the Atlantic and slowly impact areas across Europe, just bringing very, very heavy rain. But this is slowly going to just continue to meander back across the Atlantic. But even still, it could pick up even a little bit more strength before it does completely fizzle out. But that is Dexter. So Dexter is pretty much done and over with now that it's a post-tropical cyclone. Again, you can't really see that organization there anymore. So it's just really a cluster of moisture that's just continuing to file across the Atlantic. So again, Dexter is pretty much done and over with. But something that also did happen in the tropics today, or tropics related today, is yesterday we were talking about how Colorado State University issued their August 6th update. This is their final update to their forecast that they make in order to outlook the 2025 season. So on average, 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. They put out their first outlook back in April. So, and again, it just goes to show how reliable this outlook is. They pretty much nailed last year, and that was the busiest outlook that they ever issued. So going into this year, there's a lot of confidence in the Colorado State University outlook. And initially in April, being one of the earliest outlooks to ever be issued, their initial April outlook called for 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, 4 major hurricanes. Still above average, but not as busy as last year. And that's kind of been the moral of the story for a lot of outlooks that have been issued. So Colorado State University calling for a still busy year, but same with their updates, they've slowly taken it down. So with yesterday's update, now calling for 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. NOAA did the same thing today. So NOAA also updated their forecast, and their original May forecast was 13 named storms, 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. Their update that came out today, 13 named storms, 13 to 18 named storms, 5 to 9 hurricanes, 2 to 5 of them being major hurricanes. So we'll take a look at the list in a second, and let me actually bring this up here. So NOAA is again, mind you, 4 of these storms have already been declared. So right now, between 13 and 18 storms, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So NOAA is basically saying that we could be seeing storms from Melissa to, what was it, 19? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So basically, NOAA is saying that the majority of the season, fingers crossed, should be wrapped up between Melissa and it was either, Tanya, that was the other one. So those between 13 and 19 storms was the original one, and they've actually taken it down one. So Melissa, fingers crossed, this season, according to NOAA, should wrap up between Melissa and Sebastian. The Colorado State University outlook calls for 16 named storms, which puts us right at Pablo. So fingers crossed, Pablo, according to the Colorado State University forecast, should be wrapped up by Pablo. So we'll see exactly how well those forecasts land. But we've already had 4 of those be named. So we're looking at, hold on, quick math here, 12 more storms before things wrap up according to Colorado State University. So we'll see how that goes as we head through the rest of hurricane season. We'll pop up your 7-day real quick, and then make sure you stay tuned for the 8 o'clock show coming up soon after this. And we'll talk more details about the tropics as well as your local forecast for the rest of the work week and into the weekend. But things still going to be staying soggy at least through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And things are also going to continue to stay soggy at least through Monday. Then a little bit of high pressure starts to kick in, and that's what takes down our rain chances ever so slightly. Taking a look ahead into next week. But that's what we're looking at. So tropics are starting to get busy. So make sure you have that Fox Local app downloaded, and also make sure you are following all members of the Fox 35 Storm Team on all of their social medias so you do not miss a tropics or weather update. It has been a really busy week, and it's going to be a very busy rest of hurricane season, so you definitely don't want to miss a thing. All right, everyone, have a great night. Thank you for joining me, and we will be back tomorrow, Friday at 7:30, so make sure you join us then. Have a great night.